What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Coach Mike Dub, here with another edition of the Lockdown Defense Sports Studio. Here to recap the draft from my Commanders. It's been a long few weeks, a long few months. Of course, all the build up, all the hype around the draft, everybody was ready, and it did not disappoint. You guys saw us, with our live reactions from the first round. And of course, the days to follow, all the other drama and all that stuff that happened, but we're not going to get into all that. We're going to get into how we think we did with our commanders and our respective teams. So I got a lot to share about our picks. I'm overall happy about where we landed. Of course, we were coming into the draft with not too many holes to fill, like I mentioned before. You guys saw when we did our mock drafts and our mock ups. I already mentioned, we were pretty much at this point playing with house money. Better than some of our other, I guess the opponents in our division that were looking for some make or break spots. We really weren't looking for that, So we came into the draft in a good position, and we're going to get into the decisions that we made to kind of go forward. So first and foremost, we're going to take a look at just the overview. We didn't have a lot of draft picks, of course, using them in different trades and different scenarios, different things like that. But overall, we had a first, a second, a fourth, a sixth, and a seventh. So really a chance to find some guys that were going to contribute with depth and contribute with special teams potentially. We're going to get into all that. But of course, all eyes on those first two picks, your first two rounds. What are you going to do with them? Are there going to be guys that are going to contribute? Also where would they find their spot, so forth and so forth. So we're going to definitely get into those picks. But first and foremost, let's start out with the big name. First round, Josh Connolly was an offensive lineman. There were a lot of questions based on where we were going to go position wise. For me, I wanted to see us take a look at the defensive side of the ball. Of course, the safeties that were available at that time. One of the guys that we talked about that jumped off the board, of course, with Nick from University of South Carolina. He was available at that time. But I like the pick, and I'm going to say why I like the pick. You see here, I gave overall the grade is a solid B. And the reason why I like the pick, number one, he's a good player. You can go back and look at him, look at his film. You can see that he was one of the top tackles as far as names being mentioned. I would say he was definitely, probably top seven, top six or seven tackles that was whose names are floating around. Of course, playing for a blue blood program, and in a division where he's able to play against guys that he's going to see on Sundays, he was able to hold his own. So overall, let's just start with the quality of the pick. I thought it was a solid pick. I don't think that we had to reach up for somebody who was questionable if they were if we were reaching for them or not. I think we did a good job not reaching, taking what was given to us, and then also I like the fact that we addressed the offensive line. It wasn't, I guess a red flag for us, so to speak, going into the draft, but it was a position that you can never have enough depth on, and you can never have, as many options as far as protecting your franchise quarterback and Jaden Daniels, of course. So anything to protect Jaden and anything to keep him upright, I'm all for 100%. You can never go wrong with building up your trenches. He's a guy that is especially good in the pass protection. Needs a little bit of help in the run game. So I don't think our run game will improve that much this year. He does play left tackle. I think we're going to have to see if he can play some right tackle this year. But what I do feel like is this was a pick for the future. This was a guy that has a high ceiling. He's going to be able to learn from Laramie Tunsil, one of the better tackles in the game. And I think that, Laramie still has a lot of time left on, a lot of tread left on those tires. But when that time comes, hopefully, things pan out and Josh is still around. He'll be a solid guy to come in and fill those roles. But I think that they're going to try to work with him. It's a developmental player, but the ceiling is very high for him, and I think that this could be a good pick for us. But I like it most because I think we got guys that we didn't have to reach for, guys that we weren't taking just because they were the best available according to the so-called exports and things like that. These are guys that I think we liked, and I think he fit right into what we were trying to do. So I give it an overall B. Let's move on to the second round. This is my favorite pick of the draft, Trey Amos, for multiple reasons. A few reasons. Number one, I said it before, one of the main objectives that I wanted to address going into this draft was definitely on the defensive side of the ball, specifically addressing the pass defense. I thought we needed to get a little bit better in that. If it wasn't in, the safety position, corner wasn't mad at that as well, but definitely wanted to address something in the secondary. And Trey Amos was one of the corners that I loved the most based off of not only his film and in his senior year, what he did at Ole Miss, but also he had a great combine and great workouts. He looked smooth. He's a ball hawk. He's very aggressive, but he looked like a guy that could come in and contribute right away. Of course, we landed a ace last year with our corner that we got from Michigan. Came in, played well for us. I think he's only going to get better. We still have Lattimore. We're expecting to get him back healthy. So Amos would fit right in at that nickel position, but he also has the ability to play outside if we wanted to bump Sandstrel into that nickel as well. So a little bit of versatility, of course, gives us depth. Once again, similar to the first round draft pick, I see this as a guy that has a very high ceiling and could learn from another superstar or another all pro in front of him and Marshawn Lattimore. I think there's an opportunity for him to learn and really develop under him. And perhaps in year 2 or 3, we can see him really take that starting role and hopefully hold down those two corner spots for us with Sandstro and Trey Amos. But I love this pick. This is my favorite pick of the draft, addressing the area of need, in my opinion, and also taking what I think is a really good quality pick to get him this late in the second round, almost going into the third round. There were some people, depending on who you asked, that had him as a first round pick or at least early second round, depending on what teams went corner and how far you ranked them up. But I think that this is probably the best quality pick in the draft, especially for us to land this guy where we landed him. I'm very happy with it. All right, so we didn't have a third rounder, so we're getting into the back end, the mid rounds, back end of the draft. This is another great quality pick, and the reason why is because when you start thinking fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, uh, it's not you're looking for a guy that obviously is probably not going to be a starter. You're lucky if you find a fourth rounder that's going to be a starter, but if they can be a guy that you can look to in the future, or they could be a depth guy, or in our case, this one may be a home run for our special teams. Special teams was another area that we wanted to address and that we needed some help on this year. So we were able to do that. Of course, addressing your special teams, of course, takes care of your depth as well, depending on what position you're talking about. In our case, as a receiver, he's a speedy guy. He's a guy that can come in and play that slot position. We know Debo has had some health issues in the past, so that could give us some depth there without having to change the offense up too much. And even I can see us building in some packages for him, depending on how he comes into camp and how he does in camp. But he's a home run threat, speedy guy, deep threat, but also you can use him on some end around, some reverses, jet sweeps, different things like that. So I'm excited to see us pick a guy that could add to our versatility on offense, another weapon for the offense, and another kind of toy for Kingsbury to play around with in that offense. I'm excited to see him play. Most of all, like I said, on that special team side of the ball, he can be our starting kick returner, starting punt returner, and at any point in time could really swing a game into something that could start fireworks. As we see the new dynamic kickoff rules coming in, I think we're going to start seeing teams maybe invest in that special teams aspect a little bit more than we have in recent years because, as we know, different rule changes have taken out that element of the game. But this is a guy that could also contribute in the punt return game as well as the kick return. And anytime he has the ball in his hands, special things can happen. So I'm excited to see him come do that for us. Next, we get into the sixth round. Now we're talking about Kane Madrano from UCLA. He's a coverage linebacker. I see this as another guy that can really contribute to us early on as a special teamer. Once again, that's an aspect that we wanted to address. We lost the Dallas game because of our special team. So this is a guy that I think could come in immediately and contribute there. As far as the defensive side of the ball, it's more of a depth pick and more of somebody that'll be there just in case we have, a dime package and he may be able to come in as a coverage linebacker in that situation. Other than that, I don't really see him coming on the field too much in his first year at least. But once again, when you're not drafting based off of immediate need, you have the luxury of being able to draft guys that, have 2 to 3 years to develop behind vets. We know that linebacker room is very strong right now with Frankie Louvu and, of course, Bobby Wagner coming back. So that's a great place for guys like this to learn. Like I said, he's a 6th round draft pick. Struggles a little bit in the run game and securing tackles. But overall, he's a pretty solid coverage linebacker. So I think he could contribute in certain packages right now. But I'm looking for him to really make his mark on special teams, which is what you're looking for in a 6th round pick. If you're able to contribute at all, it would be in that special teams aspect. And hopefully he can learn from the vets and perhaps be a vital piece going forward. But definitely see him as somebody who could really come in and be a cornerstone for that special team aspect very early on. Last but not least, our 7th round pick, a position that I thought we needed to address, especially in the future going forward. We do have two solid backs, of course, in B Rob and Eckler, but we decided to address that in the 7th round again with Jacoby Krosky from Arizona. Now, I say from Arizona, but he actually only played one game this year with Arizona due to eligibility issues. He actually missed pretty much the whole season, aside from one game. So he didn't put too much tread on his tires, which is good for a running back, but he still is 24 years old already. So we know when you're talking, draft picks, that's ancient, especially for a running back. He may only have about 5 years, before they start looking for the next guy. So not sure where this draft pick will fit in. It really depends on the health of the rest of our running backs. It really depends on what happens in camp. Of course, most teams don't really go into the season with more than 4 backs on their roster. So, it's going to be a reach for him to even make the 53, but we'll see. Anything is possible because we don't know what the status of the other guys are going to be. As far as skill set, he kind of reminds me of B Rob a little bit. He's a different type of back as far as he's not super shifty and he's not a very strong power back either. He's not going to run over anybody specifically, but if he gets the gap and if he gets some room, then he could get a lot of chunk yardage. Not necessarily a home run threat, but he can get you 12 yards here or 15 yards here, anything like that. If he has a really good gap and is able to get off of some good chunk yardage. I mentioned he's an older back, so I don't really see too much of a high potential there for him. Maybe a rotational guy, like I said, if he's able to make the 53. Not the home run threat or the shifty guy that I would like to see, but I'm not going to say that he can't come in and contribute and be what we need for our offense. Of course, at running back position, a lot of it is going to be about your situation and your offensive line and how teams react off of other weapons that you have around you. So, in his case, he's not going to be asked to be Saquon or anything like that. So there's a possibility that he can come in and really contribute well for us in the future. This is more, like I said, a rotational, a depth piece. I don't hate the pick at all. I'm not wowed by it either. I'm not wowed by his athleticism or anything that really jumps off the screen for me. But anything can happen. So hopefully we look forward to him, coming in and finding a way that he can contribute to the team. But overall, I think that this was a solid draft for us. I'm happy that we didn't have to do too much in it. I think we were able to address some people that could come in and help out immediately. And at the same time, they could also learn from some key vets that hopefully they can be around for quite some time for us. So only time will tell, but I support it. Overall, if I had to give the draft a grade for us, I would probably say about a B. I would say about a B. Once again, the pick that I love most, more than all the rest of them, were Trey Amos. But I also loved our receiver that we took in the 4th round from Virginia Tech, Jalen Lane. I think he may come in and surprise people. I think he probably has the highest ceiling in this first year because of that special teams element that he brings and that wow factor. So looking forward to seeing what we do. Of course, you can catch us all at our socials, which you see posted here. Twitter's, Instagram, or X, I should say, Instagrams as well, and be on the lookout for more great content. So, without further ado, it's yours truly, Coach Mike Dub. Check y'all out later.